Hello and welcome to the movie podcast at TIFF. My name is Daniel, and joining alongside me are my fellow disruptors, Anthony.
Hello.
And Shahbaz.
Hello, and hello.
We are on the case today, and we are here with our review of Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Of course, this is the sequel to Rian Johnson's 2019 film, which Shahbaz and I love very much. And Anthony, you have not seen yet, so this is going to be a very interesting review because I'm so happy we get to have very different perspectives coming into this film, right?
Definitely. I do want to ask one question. If we were caught in a murder mystery, who would die first?
You know what's funny? I knew you were going to ask that question because it's a similar question you kind of asked during our way back playback here commentary of Game Night.
Who would die?
It was kind of like if there was a murder mystery party, what would happen kind of thing. And I think we all kind of came to the conclusion that we're at Daniel's death.
It's me dying?
Daniel's
dying.
Daniel's dead, and we're all trying to figure out who did it.
Right. But we're all, when you say we're all trying to figure out, it's just you two.
Yeah.
And then you guys are going to be like, our plan worked. And we killed him.
And the twist is, we both just killed you.
You both just killed me. Okay, that's fair.
There is no murder mystery.
It's not a mystery.
It's just murder, no mystery.
It's just Knives Out, Daniel's dead. That's it. That's it. We've been having a great time at the Toronto International Film Festival. We have so many reviews out right now that you'll be able to check out on the movie podcast feed, including our thoughts on The Whale. You'll also be able to hear our thoughts on Bros, Weird, the Al Yankovic story, The Fablemans, Raymond and Ray, and so many more. We also have a great interview coming out your way on the 15th of September, which is going to be this Thursday. It's our roundtable interview with Brendan Fraser, who is starring in The Whale, and he is having an incredible comeback. He's having an incredible year right now, and his performance in The Whale is absolutely amazing, and I'm so happy that we had the chance to talk to him. So look forward to that interview this week. Also, Shay, we had another really great interview that we got to do today, and I'm going to let you share the good news with the audience.
We're telling everybody now?
I think we should tell them, only because we're probably going to post that they're going to be on the show later this week. So if you're listening to this review of Knives Out, guess what? There's a cool interview you'll be able to hear later this week.
Oh boy, okay. If we're dropping it, then we might as well drop it.
Let's do it.
So we have the stars of Raymond and Ray. We have Ewan McGregor and Ethan Hawke on this show. And Sophie Okonedo and Maribel Verdú. And of course, Daniel, you had the opportunity to speak with Rodrigo Garcia.
Yeah, we did. Honestly, it's pretty surreal. I think, whenever we get to do interviews, this is the second, or I guess it was the third time, Brendan Fraser being our second, kind of in-person junket that we did. It's always that oh, we're doing this live right now. We're in the moment. We're doing these interviews. We're having a great time with them. So I'm so excited to share this with the world. And yeah, we had Hayden Christensen on the show this year. We had Deborah Chow on the show this year, and we had bloody freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi on the show this year with Ewan McGregor. That's pretty amazing. Ethan Hawke is another one of our favorite actors.
Oh, 100. And I feel like the circle is almost complete. Are we missing anybody that we haven't gotten a chance to from that Star Wars universe right now? I mean, there's definitely some more. We could have Natalie Portman on the show.
Natalie Portman one day.
But we have
Open
Darth
invite.
Vader and we have Obi-Wan. So that's pretty damn good.
That's pretty amazing. So you look forward to that later this week, as well as our Brendan Fraser interview with writer Samuel D. Hunter from The Whale. But today is all about Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Of course, like we said at the top of the show, this is Rian Johnson's sequel to the hit Knives Out film, and it's pretty amazing that this is a Netflix film. It's going to be releasing later this year on December 23rd, and this review will be completely spoiler-free. So there'll be no spoilers. We are not giving anything away. The best thing about a murder mystery is the mystery, so stay tuned, watch it. Don't share spoilers if you have seen it at TIFF, because you want to go into this as fresh as you can. We're just talking about our overall thoughts today. We're not giving an official, watch it or real gem or whatever it's going to be, whatever we love to give movies here. We want you to go in like with all the movies we've been doing at TIFF and just hear our thoughts, hear our reactions to them. This film stars Daniel Craig returning to the role of Benoit Blanc with that wonderful, wonderful, Southern accent that he does. That Kentucky accent that he does. Joining the cast, the all-new cast this time around is Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, Kathryn Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr., Jessica Henwick, Madelyn Cline, with Kate Hudson and Dave Bautista. And like I said, this is going to be releasing on Netflix in December. On December 23rd, you'll be able to watch it. We were lucky enough to watch it as part of the Toronto International Film Festival. We're slowly wrapping up our coverage of TIFF. We'll have a couple more reviews, trickling on the feed throughout the rest of this week and into next week. So stay tuned for all of that, because we watched so many incredible films, and we'll be dropping them on the feed, as things become slow down, so we have something to listen to. But Anthony, I'd love for you to jump in here. Give us your synopsis for the film.
In the follow-up to Rian Johnson's Knives Out, Detective Benoit Blanc travels to Greece to peel back the layers of a mystery involving a new cast of colorful suspects.
So that's what's interesting. When we heard there was going to be a sequel to Knives Out, it was that thing of like, okay, how are you going to tell an all new story? And you know what you do? You take the key figure, Benoit Blanc, put him in a whole new mystery. We're like an Agatha Christie novel now, and we're just doing something completely different. Shay, jump in. You are a huge fan of Knives Out like I am. Give us your first reactions to Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery.
Look, you kind of set me up there with a lot of great points, in the sense that we were kind of worried, where would this kind of go. You had a perfect film where you didn't need to kind of make a sequel, but the story of Benoit Blanc, or at least carrying Benoit Blanc through, is really what pushes us forward. And how do you do that? You just reinvent or refresh the genre, is what I should say. And Rian Johnson does such an amazing job of this. He's able to focus on not so much who did the murder or what killed somebody, but it's almost about the motive. It's always about the why and how do we get there. And I think that's what makes these movies so different and so interesting, is that you find out relatively soon who did the murder, or at least kind of in an easy way, but it's kind of getting to the what and the where and the what and the who and the why. And I'm getting a little confused here.
You're throwing a lot of
W's out there.
A lot of questions.
A lot of W's. Using my Kentucky accent now. But at the end of the day, this movie, basically, you can tell it has a bigger budget. It has a bigger cast. It has a bigger locale, and it just kind of takes that sequel formula and really amplifies it. And luckily, it doesn't suffer from sequel-itis, which I heard is a very bad disease out there.
It's a real thing that millions of films suffer through.
And what I will say about this film, though, is that unlike the first one, this one does, for me, take a little bit of time to kind of get started. There's definitely a little bit of a slower pace in the beginning, where I'm like, okay, where's this really going? Because the murder, I felt, didn't really happen until much later on, for me at least, where I would have wanted to see somebody die. Not that I like to see people die, but do you know what I mean in the movie?
I do know what you mean, for sure.
So that kind of felt like it took a little too long for me, and it kind of kept me on the edge. And Rian Johnson is one of the greatest directors. He's very smart. So I know that everything he's doing is intentional, but that doesn't mean that everything he's doing has to work.
Yeah, and I think this movie is incredibly intricate in what it's trying to pull off. There are so many layers to the onion. I think that you wonderfully said yesterday, Shay, that there's so many layers to this film that you have to kind of peel through to really get to the center of what's going on. But it really isn't the destination. It's the journey to get there. And I think Janelle Monáe is a standout. Daniel Craig in this film is phenomenal. But I think what the first film did so well is it had a great dynamic, because this was a family, where this is a cast of characters who, we won't say how they all know each other, but they are all brought together as former friends. We won't really kind of get into their roles. But Anthony, jump on in here. What are your thoughts on Glass Onion? As someone who's never seen the first film, what was it like coming into this world?
Well, the expectations were high, because hearing you guys talk about it, or even the world talking about it, and being nominated for, I think, Best Original Screenplay, there was a lot riding on my first interaction with this franchise. And I haven't watched the first one. I don't know why. I own it. I just haven't gotten the chance to dive into it. I'm always down for a murder mystery, and yeah, I was really looking forward to watching this with you guys and just kind of like getting into it and understanding Rian Johnson. He's such an intricate director, and he has this way of telling stories, and he's really smart at his writing. And I'm like, okay, so this is gonna be a shoo-in for me. I should like this. And I came out of the theater going, oh, okay, that was there was certain things that I liked about it, but it didn't blow me away. I think I set the expectations too high, and I kind of was a little bit of a letdown for it. Probably a big letdown for me. I just thought there were a lot of things that I saw coming. I really, really enjoyed Daniel Craig's character, Benoit Blanc. I think his portrayal of this Kentucky detective who can solve anything in a matter of seconds and can figure out the story really, really quickly was probably my favorite part. And I look forward to seeing him in future roles as this character. I think that's what Rian Johnson wants to do. He just wants to continue making these types of mysteries, and I really enjoyed that. But I just didn't enjoy the characters that were this mysteries happening to. I just didn't care for the story. I tried to really understand what they were all doing, and maybe I gotta watch the first one to really kind of grasp how good that one is, and then kind of watch this one again. But I just felt like the story was really just okay. Like it wasn't captivating. I wasn't like there was no gasp. But I think the audience really enjoyed it. Sitting down in the TIFF, and I gotta tell you, this TIFF screening was full, ran every seat. And people are laughing, and I think there are a lot of funny moments. But for me personally, even though I didn't watch the first one, this one really didn't get me to watch it. Like, it didn't convince me to watch that first one.
I get that,
which I feel I'm still gonna do because I'm gonna respect that film. But I thought there was gonna be more. I thought I was gonna be blown away. I thought it was gonna be this twist, and it was gonna be really shocking, and how it was told on the screen, and it was gonna be cinematic, and I just didn't get that. And I'm like, is this maybe Netflix got too involved, or I don't know. There was something about this film that I just thought it was just a little bit of a letdown for me.
I get it, and here's the thing. As much as I love this movie, and I love so much of this movie, I think the biggest thing for me that I wasn't in love with, even though they are very serviceable in the film, is this stacked cast. Only because, like I said earlier in our review, what I love so much about the first Knives Out is that there's a family dynamic to it. Like Shay said, again, I guess light spoilers for the first Knives Out if you haven't seen it. We learned very early what happens in the movie, but it's that journey and it's the twists and turns that story takes. Where with this film, it takes about almost half the film to get going, and then it really switches gears. And I think it's the second half of this movie where I fell in love with what it was doing.
Absolutely.
But that first half of this film is a lot of setup. It's a lot of characters who you don't have a connection with. I think the first Knives Out was so brilliant in how it did an introduction, because it starts with everyone in the family being interviewed by the detectives. So right away you're getting to know their personalities. And yeah, this film does a very similar thing with getting to know who these personalities are, but because it also, it does it in a way where it's not as connected as a family would be. And again, I don't want to give anything away, but you'll know that this group feels more estranged with one another, and not that I missed it. I just think the family dynamic for a murder mystery worked really, really well. Where this one, it works really well, but it's not until the second half of this film that you're just like, I'm on board, I get what's happening, and then it's a crazy ride to the finish.
I think what I loved so much about the first one was, like you mentioned, these characters. I can look back at it and go, like, Chris Evans, for example, stole the show from me in that movie. Ana de Armas stole the show. Tony Collette stole it from me. There's so many characters that I look back at in that film that were unique, that were interesting, and that kept me going. In this one, yeah, I mean, I liked Kathryn Hahn. I liked Dave Bautista, Ed Norton. They were all great, but they never went beyond just kind of liking them. Like, I didn't root for anybody. I didn't care enough about anybody. And when the ending of the movie happens, I was just kind of like, my opinion didn't change on them. Whereas throughout the first Knives Out, it was a roller coaster ride of emotions for me, where I was like, oh my God, I love this character. I hate this character. I love this character. Oh my God, they're kind of sketchy. And this one, it was just purely, you felt a little disconnected from them. And I know that might be the point of the film, because the characters feel disconnected. But as the audience member, if I'm trying to go along for the ride, if I'm trying to, solve the case with you, it didn't connect with me as much as I wanted it to.
Yeah, and and that's totally fine. I think to be honest with you, this felt more of a traditional murder mystery
Yes.
for the first half, and then really in that second half is like, okay, now this is a Rian Johnson murder mystery, right? So it does take a lot of twists and turns, and it does take a little while to show its cards. But I think ultimately for me, it did work for me, and it did work. I think one of the biggest things that as much as I love that Netflix gave Rian Johnson the money to make this movie, I just wish that we'd be able to watch this with an audience, because
Yes.
the first Knives Out, Shay, you and I actually watched. We didn't even watch it at TIFF.
No.
We watched it in Florida.
Florida.
We watched an early screening of it when we were on vacation in Florida.
Because movies don't take vacations.
No, movies don't take vacations. But we watched it with a Floridian audience, and it was such a fun
They
experience.
had guns out, I believe.
No, but someone did spill their soda on us, and I'm saying
Yeah.
soda because we were in Florida.
Yeah.
I do remember that, and that was interesting. But I mean, I just wish that Netflix, or I hope that Netflix finds out a way to release this in some screens, because this is going to be such a fun one to watch with an audience, just like what we said with Weird, and so many of the streaming only movies that are at TIFF this year. They're so great with an audience, and I hope it finds a way to do that.
No, question for you guys, because I don't know. I haven't watched that first one. Benoit Blanc, is he predominantly the character that is focused on the first one? Is he like? Because
I feel it's about
like,
the same.
Is it? Because I don't know. I felt like he wasn't as much as a character in this season in this movie compared to what he might have been in the first one. But that's just me guessing. But there's a lot of character development with these people.
I think he might have been a tad bit more in the first one, but it is mostly through Ana de Armas that we're kind of watching that first film, and Benoit Blanc is that side character or that secondary character in that film as well. But that is when you're also trying to figure out who Benoit Blanc is. You have a lot of question marks up in the air. You don't know if you can trust him yet in that one as well. There's a lot of those questions that you kind of have to go through in a first film. So that's what I think made that character so much interesting in that one. And this one, yes, I did want more Benoit Blanc, but I was also happy that we got a lot of Janelle Monáe, because she's just so great. Something about her just absolutely captivated me.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's a movie star, and I can't wait to see her in more films. But it's definitely something that, like to what you said, Anthony, I feel it's on par. Maybe he was, because the first one was a bit shorter, maybe his scenes felt a little bit more impactful there, where here he's kind of going on the adventure, and I think we see Benoit Blanc in this film a little bit more on the back foot than we normally would when we saw him in the first Knives Out film. But I'm really curious to see what the audience's reaction is going to be this, because at TIFF, this is getting unanimous praise, and I think for myself and for Shay, it worked really well. But again, it takes some time to show its cards. Let's get to our final just kind of thoughts before we wrap
question.
up. Yeah, please.
One more question. Sorry.
There's nothing to apologize for.
Sorry, guys. One more question.
We're just wrapping up, dude.
Do you like this one more than the first one, or are you still the first Knives Out to be that pedigree of murder mystery?
That's a great question. I think for myself, for it to be truly fair, I need to watch this one again just to get a vibe for it. But there's something about the first Knives Out for me that's very much a comfort film. It's the setting. It's fall. There's a look. There's a warmth to it. And again, like we've been kind of saying throughout, I really love the family dynamic, where this one is a lot more of a summer film. It takes place in Greece. There's a very, very wide variety of characters that are in this, and they're all very different. So I think if I had to, if you really made me, if you took a knife to me and said, choose right now, I would say the first one. But I'm excited to rewatch this one and see how it grows on me over time.
For all the same reasons as Daniel mentioned, I would say the first one. I also think the first one is a little bit more digestible in the sense that it's easier to watch. Like, you go along for the ride and you're just kind of having a great time. This one, it can get a bit convoluted in the sense of how big the scale of it is and how long of a movie it is, but it's not a drastic difference for me. Like, I love the first one because, again, it is a comfort film. It's really fun to watch. But this one is just right below it. It's not too far away.
Did I answer your question, Anthony? That's good.
Yes, that's thank you guys.
Okay, wonderful.
I'll run off now.
Okay.
Not before you tell us how you really feel about this film, though. No, don't tell us.
We'll be back, later this year talking lots more about this film. But until then, as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday and pretty much every single day at this point. We didn't say it at the top of the show, but we just celebrated a huge milestone today on the show. Not only did we interview Ewan McGregor and Ethan Hawke, but we made our television debut today. We were guests on ET Canada's their after show for The Rings of Power, which is a show that you may know that we love very much. So to be on it and to be guests on it, the three of us, was an amazing thing, and it'll be something that we'll be talking about in a future episode of the show. So stay tuned for all of that. But guys, if you had to sum up the experience today of ET Canada in one word, how would you do it? I'm going to start with the man of many words, Anthony.
In one word?
One word.
It felt good. I know it's 3 words.
That's a lot of words, man. Damn, let's get him a
Good. We got good. Shahbaz, how about yourself? One word.
Unforgettable. This was a core memory.
Yeah. Monumental would be the one that I would use. It's Core Memory is a great one too. It was an amazing experience, and of course we'll have the link to that live show in the show notes below. So if you want to check us out on live TV, you could do so there. Thank you so much again for listening to our review of Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Like I said, please make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd at The Movie Podcast. And you'll be able to check out all of our show notes, join our Discord, right into the show. We have lots going on with TIFF and lots more happening next week, so stay tuned. That was this time with The Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.